Welcome back, everybody, to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. I am Chris Witt, and with me, as always, is Mr. Adam Schmidt. Adam, how are you today, sir?
I'm terrific. How are you?
Buddy, I'll tell you what, if I was any better, I'd be twins.
Ooh.
Adam, we got kind of a fun podcast. I'm pretty excited about this podcast. We our comedy special that we are going to be reviewing today was Sarah Tollemache. Voluptuous boy. I don't know if I'm saying her name right, something like that.
You are.
We've got our Mount Rushmore of professional stadiums, I guess you would say, that we've been to.
Sports venues, yeah.
Sports venues, there you go. We got Steph Curry is, kind of came along here a little bit. So we're going to get into a little bit of Steph Curry. Funny thing happened with the Reds the other day in our incredible snowstorm that we had in the middle of April here in Cincinnati. Making 2021 just as absolutely crazy as 2020. And of course, my newest and most favorite segment of this podcast, Walking Stories with Crack a Thug, Adam Schmidt.
I'm ready to roll, man. Let's do it.
Let's make it happen. All right. Well, you know what, Adam? Before we get into your walking stories, let's just tell this funny story. So we're here in Cincinnati, Ohio, right? And Cincinnati's known for having crazy weather. Like it can jump 40 degrees in the span of 10 hours. Like it's nothing. Happens all the time. I'd say we're used to it, but we're definitely not really used to it. So all that being said, we had a winter storm. I had 2.5 inches of snow when I woke up this morning on April 21st, 2021, which was crazy enough. And then it snowed again after that, but the snow started last night and the Reds were still playing. And I was not watching the game, but I can tell you that I have seen a clip of Lucas Sims on the mound in a sleeting, raining, freezing, cold, nasty storm that's coming down. And Tucker Barnhart throws him a ball. He takes the ball, throws it to the dugout, says that ball's no good. They throw him another ball. He throws it to the dugout. So here's my thing. Did he not communicate with Tucker Barnhart about this? Because Barnhart throws his hands in the air like, what are you doing?
It's funny that you said that you saw it that way. I sort of felt like those two were on the same page. I felt like those two.
You think Tucker was talking to the umpire and going, I don't know what to do either.
It looked like he was almost doing that sarcastically, like doing it, like giving it an extra little umph in his, shoulder shrug or his throwing his hands up, because Lucas Sims couldn't grip the ball. He had already given up, it was pouring down rain and turning into snow, like you said, and he had already given up a home run to tie the game. And then I think he had walked in the lead run for the Diamondbacks. Yep. And then that's when, and I believe now I was listening to the game. I'm so used to watching the game. And since we already talked about how you can't get
Valley
the Reds
Sports
game in Cincinnati anymore on TV.
Why would you want to watch it in Cincinnati? It doesn't make any sense.
So I have to listen to the games, which normally I like anyway, but listening to it, I didn't quite pick up everything. So I had to get it all later, but I think David Bell came out of the dugout even before that happened to kind of say, hey guys, what are we doing? Nobody can see, we can't grip the baseball. And they said, keep playing. The umpires said, keep playing. So then, they walked in I think that's what happened, walked in the run to put them behind 5-4. And so Lucas Sims is like, it's absurd that I'm expected to pitch in these conditions because I can't grip the baseball and I can't see my catcher. And so that's when so the umpire started throwing the balls out. Tucker Barnhart
throws the second ball. It was so great. He throws the second ball away that Barnhart throws to him. And the umpire, you can tell now the umpire's like, all right, son. And he takes a step out to him, throws a ball to him. He takes it, holds it up so the umpire can see it and tosses it to the dugout. Umpire grabs his next ball, throws it to him. He shows it to the umpire and throws it to the dugout.
Yeah.
Umpire takes the last ball out of his bag, throws it to him. What does Lucas Sims do? Well, I think you got the idea by now. He was not pitching. and that umpire turned around pissed and
Yeah.
started walking back towards him.
And I feel like he was, because when Barnhart threw the second ball out and Lucas Sims threw it away, and Barnhart put his hands up like, all right, yep, I get what you're doing. We can't use any of these balls because you can't grip them. That's the way I thought he was that's what I thought he was doing. And the umpire, that's when he started coming out from behind the plate, and it looked like he said something to Barnhart, like a good 3 or 4 seconds was saying something to Barnhart on his way out to the mound. It looked
Yeah.
like he was already mad at Barnhart for being part of that thing. And then he starts, as he's walking out to the mound, throwing ball after ball after ball. Lucas Sims, and
So great.
Lucas
That was
Sims
my
is barely even looking at he's like catching it, quick little glance, toss it away. He wasn't even really looking at it.
so great. He never looked at the ball. He just took the ball out of his glove, showed it to the umpire, and threw it into the dugout. It was so great. Anyway, that was my fun of the day. And then they called the game, right? They called it
Yeah.
after that, right? He basically talked the umpires into stopping the game, in which they end up playing it today, which I don't understand why they even played it today. Well, I mean, it was after 5 innings. Why didn't they just finish it? Why didn't they just call it over? All the
I
Reds
think,
still had to hit.
yeah, I think you're gonna try to play the game if the same team is still in town the next day and you have time to get it in. I think they're gonna
Gotcha.
always try to, but yeah,
Well,
that
they
was
did.
nuts. That was,
Yeah,
and then
they did.
that almost got delayed because we had
We had another
another like
snowstorm
45
that
minute
came in.
snowstorm. And then the sun was out before that. Another 45-minute snowstorm. Sun was out after that. Snow melted immediately.
We were supposed to have baseball practice today, and I had to cancel it while it was sunny out because we were about to get snow. And I was like, guys, this could be freezing cold. We're gonna get snow. I got to cancel this. I know how beautiful it looks outside right now, but it ain't gonna happen. And then within 20 minutes, here comes the downpour.
Yeah. And then beautiful again after that.
And absolutely beautiful again after that. So that being said, all right, so that's my Lucas Sims. Now, Adam, before we get into the Steph Curry, this is a sports podcast, so we'll talk a little more sports with Steph Curry and some accomplishments he's got going on. We're in that weird time frame of the year where it's early in the baseball season. We're not quite to the NBA playoffs. The NFL draft is the only thing going on in the NFL, and that's not for another week. There's just not a ton of stuff going on. So we'll talk some Steph Curry. We'll talk about our favorite places we've ever been, Mount Rushmore style. But Adam, you know what we got to do first. It's time for Walking Stories with Crack a Thug.
All right. So this week, I'm walking. I'm trying to mix up my routes a little bit each time. I don't want to walk the same exact route that's boring every time. I walk mostly the same streets, but I try to mix up the direction I go. And there are tons of side streets and stuff that I've driven past a billion times in my life, and I hardly ever go down. So I'm starting to walk up and down all those. Anyway, so I'm trying to mix it up. I get to this street the other day, and I've only driven down the street maybe once or twice in my life, and I've lived in this neighborhood my whole life. So I'm like, man, this is a good place. Let's turn here. I think I can. I was kind of ready to turn back. I think this is going to lead to another street going the other direction that I need to go. All right, let's do it. So I turn down the street, walk down. I'm walking, and really nice. First of all, in a part of the neighborhood that's not so great, I turn onto this street. Beautiful houses, yards well taken care of. I mean, it's one of those. There are a lot of little pockets like that where we live.
Yep.
In parts of the town that aren't great, and little streets on there by themselves that are just beautiful.
Yes.
And so this is one of those streets, and I'm walking down the street like, wow, I'm surprised. Look at these houses. These are so nice. So that's been one of my favorite parts about these walks that I've gone on is I kind of like architecture. I kind of like looking at houses, different houses and stuff like that. And so I'm enjoying all these houses. I see ahead some people. I hear some people in the front yard of a house ahead a little bit. I'm walking toward, somebody goes into the house, and then I see a little kid kind of up on the porch, and I'm kind of starting to approach this house, and he runs like to where there are cars parked in the driveway. So I'm like the yard is sort of blocked, but I can see up near the porch in the house. But
Mhm.
this little kid like runs like down the porch like he's gonna run out to the sidewalk where I'm going. So I throw my mask up real quick and I'm like, okay, this kid's playing outside or whatever. I'm gonna walk past him. That's fine. But he never comes. He like runs and I see him run behind the car and he never comes out. So now I'm approaching this thing. I'm like, is this kid going to try to jump out and scare me? Cause I know he's back there, but I don't
Yeah.
see him anymore. So, indeed I come out. He doesn't try to jump out and scare me, but he actually kind of does. I kind of pass the car and he's right there and he's like, rah, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I knew you were back there. But anyway, this kid's probably, I want to say 9, 10 years old, maybe 11. And poor kid is playing by himself, I guess, because he immediately starts walking right next to me, side by side, same direction, starts talking to me like we are best friends and we've known each other for his entire life.
Oh my God, it's so awesome.
I'm like, okay, all right, that's fine. So his first question for me is, do you know how to play football? Hmm. Yeah, I know how to play football. I've played before.
Dabbled in it.
Yeah, do you know how to not not organized football, but a million times in the street every Thanksgiving
Sure.
with my
Yes.
boys and everything. Do you know how to play wide receiver, or do you know how to be a wide receiver? I think was the wording. Yeah, I think so. I think I know what that means. Okay. So I'm like, he's like, okay, I'm gonna throw you the ball. You're gonna be the wide receiver. I'm like, okay, what ball are you talking about? And then as soon as I think that, I look and we're 3 houses ahead from where he was. And another house or two ahead is this football sitting on the sidewalk. I'm like, okay, that's the football, I guess. This football 5 houses away from your house that you were not just playing with is now there, has suddenly appeared, and you're some sort of magician that loves football. So we get to the football, he picks it up. I kind of just keep walking down the sidewalk. He runs out into the street. So I turn around and 15 feet away, 20 feet away, something like that. Get my hands out. He throws me the football. I catch it, throw it back. When I'm throwing it back, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you are an old man. I can't just pick up a football cold and throw it like that.
The thing hurts, don't it?
I can't. Yeah, man. I'm not trying to throw it hard or anything. And I'm also embarrassed to say that I don't know that I can really throw a spiral. I'm 39 years old. I just can't figure that thing out. Okay. So anyway, so he's like, I'm like, I'm kind of starting to turn to keep walking. And he loads up again, like he's gonna fire one at me again. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, one more. Here we go. And I get my hands out. He throws it to me, catch it, throw it back to him. Terrible throw it at his knees, and he misses it and stuff. Uh, and I'm like, and so I'm like, all right, man, thanks for playing with me or whatever. And I start turning, and I'm trying to like end the thing. And I say, and I'm thinking like, I'm trying to be like, so think of some kind of like motivational thing, like stay in school, fella, or something like, I think, so I said something like, all right, man, keep playing. I think I said, keep playing. And
Keep playing.
to me, I was thinking, keep playing football. So, keep playing so you get better and you it's fun and all that. I think he thought I meant keep playing like without me as I walk away. Uh, Either way, that's what happened. I walked away and he kept playing, I guess. So anyway, that's my football kid story. Made a new friend.
Oh,
I haven't been back to that
nice.
street yet, but I
You're
have.
so scared to go back to that street because you're afraid you're going to get roped into an entire football game.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Yeah, an entire football game with just myself and a 9-year-old boy. Um, I'll tell you what though. Next time I'm gonna plan to go that way. I'm gonna wear some receiver gloves on
Oh
the street.
yeah, get your receiver gloves. I like it. I like it. I love walking stories with Cracker Thug. These are just there's you cannot stop walking.
No, you know, no, I don't plan on it. It's going to keep getting nicer and nicer. And, I'm probably going to get attacked by cicadas here pretty soon. But you know what? I got to keep walking, man. I got to get my exercise in. I got to get my arm loose, apparently. Be ready for some, in case
You
anybody
never
throws me any
know.
balls.
You never know what's coming on a walk through the beautiful streets of Westwood.
That's right.
You just
That's
never
right.
know.
So that's my story for this week. I got to go into another guy, though, that, man, let me ask you, would you agree with me that Steph Curry is the best shooter to ever play basketball?
Absolutely. No
Okay,
question.
thank you. As good as Steph Curry has been, as much as just about everybody agrees that he is the best shooter ever, already 11 years into the league now, he is having his hottest 3-point shooting streak right now as we speak. As a
Yes, he is.
33-year-old man, 11 years into his NBA career, Steph Curry has made 72 3-pointers in the last 10 games.
Wow.
The most 3-pointers in any 10-game span in NBA history. He has made 10 or more threes in 4 of his last 5 games. So in 4 of the last 5 games he's played, he's made 10 threes or more. 6 times this season, he has made 10 threes or more. No other player in NBA history has more than 5 games in their entire career.
In
He's
their
done it
career.
6 times in a season. Nobody else more than 5 in a career. In the last 10 games, he's shooting 55% from 3. That's unheard of. Averaging 43 a game in those 10 games. He was last week's Western Conference Player of the Week. He passed Wilt Chamberlain, who holds every record in the world. Passed him for scoring all-time in Warriors franchise history, scoring. He is just on a tear right now, doing this without his partner, Klay Thompson. They are, of course, Klay's not there. I always look to see, though, whether Draymond Green is playing or not. I think that makes a big difference for them. But either way, Steph is having an unbelievable season. He's second in the league in scoring at 31, I think, 31 point something. He's just such a joy to watch shoot the basketball. I can't get enough of this guy, and he's blowing our mind. He's already blown our minds 100 times before, and he's blowing our minds again. How much do you love Steph Curry?
So, if you go to Steph Curry's Wikipedia, which is what I did the other day when we decided we were going to talk about Steph Curry. I jumped on his Wikipedia, and under Wikipedia it says NBA achievements. And if you go down a few pointers, it starts going through first place all time. If there is a 3-point stat of any sort, I'm talking not just 3-pointers made, fastest person to however many 3-pointers. I'm talking silly things like first place all time for games with at least 8 3-pointers made and 8 assists. First place all time for games with at least 9 3-pointers and 9 assists. Like, he's first place in every single 3-point stat that you can combine or make individually all time, except one, in that second place all time for most 3-pointers made in a game with 13, and Klay Thompson has 14. So he's only and he may have passed that in this little stretch that hasn't been updated. I don't know. But unbelievable going through and looking what this man has done over 11 years. Not only that, but just career-wise, right? That's what I wanted to look at. Like, we always, he had those MVP years where he was unbelievable. He was hitting threes like nobody's ever hit threes before in their life. And that's become mainstay now for him and for a couple other guys. Fastest player to reach 1,000 3-pointers, 369. And in 369 games, he got to 1,000 3-pointers. And I don't have second place on here, and I wish I did, because I'm pretty sure that second place was like 600 games. He almost doubled. He almost did it in half the time that the next person was when he broke the record. Just silly stuff like that it's unbelievable. If you think your kid can shoot, just have him watch Steph Curry and do what Steph Curry does and pray that one day he could do that, because it's unbelievable watching that kid.
Yeah. And the coolest part about it for me is it's not like he's not a spot up shooter. He's not a guy that's only getting shots off of his dribble. He's doing all of that. He can shoot any way, coming off a screen to his left, coming off a screen to his right, step backs, pull ups. He ranks. I saw the ranks for the last like 7 years. He ranks top 3 in makes and percentage in pull up, step backs, catch and shoot, over screens, contested, uncontested, after 5 dribbles from 30 to 40 feet, and clutch time. He ranks top 3 in makes and percentage, because that's the thing too, is super high volume shooter, obviously, but shoots a great percentage. So he can do it all when it comes to shooting. And you're right. I mean, now you're going to see him shoot some crazy shots that you're like, what in the world? And, and then they go in, of course, but he's a professional and he does that every day. And that's why. But you're right. When he gets to stand there, actually, you have a kid, have them watch him do his warm-up routine.
His warm-up routine, the dribbling is one thing, right? Because he really has phenomenal handle. Mm-hmm. He's probably top 3 handle in the entire league.
I agree.
But watching him do his shooting routine where he starts in the corner and he has to he catches it and then it's a dribble in and a step back, and he's got to make 3 before he can go to the next spot. And then if he misses 2 or something like that, he's got to go back. And it's an unbelievable deal. But since he came out on YouTube showing what he does as a warm up in that little, catch it, dribble in, 2 steps, or, step back, and the way he has to go around and come back, all of a sudden you're seeing all these people put them up on YouTube where they're doing Steph Curry's routine, and they can't get to the top of the key because it's too much work, because you're not just catching and shooting, like you said. It's catch, dribble, dribble, step back, catch, dribble, dribble, step back, catch, dribble, dribble, step back. And that will wear your butt out. And he just does it like it's nothing. It amazes me how a guy who's that skinny when he was young and everything could put the ball up from so deep, almost effortless. When he shoots, it looks like it's almost effortless. Like even when he's shooting those half court shots or those quarter court shots, they just look like his regular jump shot. I can't fathom how that even works, because you don't see, LeBron is, shooting that off one leg. Anybody's shooting that off one leg. I don't care how strong you are. He puts it up like it's a regular jumper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. His conditioning is not talked about enough. He has to be one of the best conditioned players in the league for sure, because he never stops moving. The guy
he's Reggie Miller out on the court. He reminds you of Reggie Miller on the court. He never stops. He is the point guard of that team, and he comes down and he'll bring the ball up most of the time, but as soon as it leaves his hand, he doesn't stop until it gets back in his hands.
Yes. Yep. Very impressive. I hope it's kind of weird to see his age. He's 33 years old. So you're like, man, maybe he has 4 or 5 years left or something. But guys are taking better care of themselves than they ever did before. And he doesn't look, he's, like LeBron, those guys don't look like they're slowing down much at all. LeBron's not quite the same as he was at 20, 21 or whatever.
Sure.
But he's also carrying 100 more pounds than Steph Curry is.
Yes, he is.
But Steph doesn't look like he's really slowing down at all either. So it's cool that there's a chance, the way they look now, that we get to see those guys, hopefully another 5, 6, 7 years, maybe they play until they're 40 and they're still pretty good. So anyway, just wanted
I don't think there's any doubt that Steph Curry is going to be very good into his 40s. Ray Allen was a really good player until he was about 40. Wasn't he? Was he around that age when he retired? And he was still. When they showed his warm up routine, everybody was was in awe of the way how many shots he got up in an everyday warm up routine. So, yeah, I think Steph Curry can do this with the way that people take care of their bodies now and the science behind all that. And when you have the money to put that into your body, and like with LeBron James, I mean, the guy looks like he's 24 years old.
Mhm.
He's in better shape
from the neck down. Yeah.
From the neck down. Yeah. Yeah, that is very true. From the forehead up, he looks like he's about 58. No doubt.
All right, man. I'm just fanboying about Steph lately. So we had to talk about that.
He broke
right
Wilt's scoring record in Golden State. And I know that was a big thing for you. And it was a big thing talked about all over the place. Because let's be honest, if you break any scoring record that Wilt Chamberlain has, you've broken something that's almost impossible to do, because that guy's scoring records were ridiculous.
He's got records that like you said are like twice like he has twice the amount of whatever the stat is.
Yeah,
the second place guy.
We've talked about it before. Like until you start looking at that, it's unbelievable. The guy's, well, he's put up there as one of the greatest of all time, but I mean, he definitely is. Steph, if there's a guy in the league right now that could get 100 points in a game, it's Steph Curry to me. Because if that guy catches fire and all of a sudden he can hit, he comes down and hits, 7 to 10 threes. Like,
he can do that in a half.
Easy. He can do it in a quarter. He could hit 7 to 10 threes in a quarter.
Yeah. Yep. If he wants to, if he shoots it every time, and he can do it.
And if a guy's shooting 55%, I feel like your offense should just be set as many screens for Steph Curry as you can, and nobody else touch the ball except him, and just put him up, bud, till you're tired. When you're tired, we'll let you sit for about 5-10 minutes and then go back out there and do it again.
Yeah. It's incredible, man. I just really enjoy watching that guy play. I don't know.
I couldn't agree more. All right, so that's the Steph Curry. That's what we got on. That's what we got today. That's the bulk of the sports. The next thing that we want to get into, of course, is our Mount Rushmore, which is another topic. This is probably a segment that's lasted the longest outside of the comedy segment.
Yeah.
For this podcast.
Yep.
We had the swipe left, swipe right. We've had many. We had the rest in peace. We've done a few things that hits a couple times, but nothing that has really lasted the test of time as much as our final two segments of the day, which are the Mount Rushmore and the comedy. So, Adam, this week's comedy special was very difficult for me to figure out last week. I went back to try to remember what it was because I couldn't remember what we chose for the Mount Rushmore. So I went back to listen to the podcast, and I was having some trouble. I was having quite a bit of trouble last week. But we ended up going with sports venues that we've been to, and we said professional. I believe we took the collegiate out of it, correct?
That's right.
Which is a bummer because as I was listening to that, Butler was one of the coolest places I've ever been by far for a basketball game. But so to take that off, we'll go to sports venues, professional sports venues that we have been to view a game.
That's right.
Because I was I actually went to Indianapolis and saw the Colts Stadium, which is one of the coolest stadiums in the world, but we didn't see a game there, so I can't count that. So I'm going to let you go first. Tell me your top four, your Mount Rushmore, if you will, of sports venues.
All right.
That you've been to.
That I've been to, that I've seen a game in. I've got to go first. And I think I mentioned this last week. I want to say Camden Yards in Baltimore. It's the coolest place. It was just my favorite. We did the ballpark tour and then went to a game, I think that night. Just everything about it. I mean, I'm not like an Orioles fan. I'm not like all that big on their history or anything like that, but the history that they do have is well represented there. I just love how it's set up. I love the old warehouse building behind, that butts up against it.
Yep.
It just I just love how it looks, love how it feels. It's old. It's like an old. I mean, you feel how old it is when you walk in there. Um, you can stand right above where the bullpens are in the outfield and watch guys warm up. We did that before the game. We went a few years ago when the Reds played in an interleague game there. Got to see a Reds game in Camden Yards. Love that
That's
park.
cool.
Next one, Fenway Park. Got to put Fenway on there. We told the story last week or 2 weeks ago about our trip that we went on in 02. Fenway Park is just cool, man. I mean, the Green Monster, the history behind it, the everything, the pesky pole that's 6 feet away from home plate, the Green Monster that's 6 feet away from home plate, but 6,000 miles high. I don't know why I'm exaggerating everything, but Fenway Park's just cool, man. I don't know.
Sure.
I like the Red Sox. They have a cool history, and I followed you into Red Sox fandom in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s when you were Nomar Garciaparra's #1 fan, and they were really really good then too. And
they were really good, and we got on the bandwagon before they won the World Series.
Yeah, that's right. And those teams were super fun. And it was just a few years after. It was just 2 years, I think, after we were there. So they were already good. And but Fenway Park is very cool. Third, I've got PNC Park in Pittsburgh. I just, it's a beautiful ballpark. Pittsburgh kind of reminds me a lot of Cincinnati in some ways. Not necessarily. I mean, I don't want to say the ballpark does, but it sort of does. It butts up against the river. But the coolest part about that is I like in Pittsburgh that the outfield is a little more open. Not the outfield, but beyond the outfield, the back of the park is a little more open. You can see the bridge, Roberto Clemente Bridge. I almost forgot Roberto Clemente's name, for goodness sake.
You almost forgot the name of the bridge. You didn't forget Roberto Clemente's name. You just almost forgot the name of the bridge. Let's get it right. Get it right.
You're right. But anyway, the bridge just looks so cool in the background there. It's right against the river. Just really, just a very nice scene. And I think the ballpark is really cool too. We went there. It might have been the year it opened. I think we took a trip there.
It was either the year it opened or the second year it was there. It was early on, and it was very early on when it was there.
Yeah, we went to a game there. I ended up going back again with my family several years later, and went to a game there. It was just really cool. I really liked the part. In left field, you got it's like a walkway that goes up, but that's like with the left field foul pole basically, and you can kind of stand on different levels and watch the game there. That's kind of unique, I think. Just very nice. I'm in love with the Roberto Clemente Bridge in the back there. And the last one I have is the United Center in Chicago. I mean, it's
the old United Center, not where they play now. You're talking about.
So the old one, the original one, that like the Bulls played in the 90s. I never got there.
You never got there. Okay.
The one that I've been to, but the Jordan stuff, the Bulls, the 90s Bulls, the iconic statue out front. I've seen that a couple of times. I've been there. Actually, I think I've been to the statue 3 times. I've been to the inside the arena for a game once. But it's just, it's just cool to walk around and all the memorabilia and everything they have. And then, my dream when I was 9 years old was to go to a Bulls game. And I ended up going to one, but it was, 20 years later. way after Michael was gone, after the
We
Bulls.
tried to go to a Bulls game in Indy back when Michael and Scotty were there years and years and years and years ago. And it was that year where, if you watched the documentary, that Scotty was having all the issues with his contract. And neither Michael nor Scotty were at the game. So we went to go watch the Bulls play. It was an exhibition game preseason, and and Michael and Scotty weren't even there. It was the biggest bummer of my life at that time.
I had a lot of fun watching BJ Armstrong play a preseason game.
Yeah, I'm sure we did. Him and Detlef Schrempf, or however you said that guy's name. And right. Yeah. So, all right, well, that's pretty good, man. Do you have any close calls, or was that pretty easy for you?
That was pretty easy. I kind of made a list of all the ones that I could remember being at. I mean, I've been to Angel Stadium in LA. I've been to Dodger Stadium. I've been to Wrigley
I heard
Field.
Dodger Stadium is a dump.
Yeah, you know what? I was like 12 years old, so it was 84 years ago. So I don't remember it very well. But I've been to Wrigley. I did the tour there and went to a game there. That was pretty cool. U.S. Cellular Field on that same trip with the White Sox. GABP and Riverfront, obviously. Nationals Park in D.C.
Man, you've hit a lot of ballparks.
I have. And then I went on it's still pro really, but I went on a minor league ballpark trip by myself. I don't know, 10 years ago or something. Went to Lexington, Louisville, Dayton, and Indianapolis and watched 4 games in 3 days. I think it was.
Nice.
So anyway, that was cool. FedEx Forum in Memphis, where the Grizzlies play. I've been to a game there, in Bankers Life Fieldhouse. We've been there 100 times.
I heard that Memphis arena is really nice.
It's awesome. I love it.
I've heard a ton of people say it was really, really nice. It's one of their favorite places to go.
It's awesome. And it's right next to like the main strip, Beale Street.
Yeah.
I went there on a trip with some buddies, and we had barbecue at this like famous barbecue place on Beale Street, and walked 100 feet over to the game. It was awesome. Cool. They had a house band. We got there real early. They had a house band playing. They played like Michael Jackson and Prince and Stevie Wonder, like all my favorite stuff. They were playing.
So great.
It was just like a perfect situation there. It was awesome. But yeah, and it was still when the grit and grind, Conley and Zach Randolph and Gasol and everybody.
Yeah,
they were still there. So it was really cool.
Young Conley, young Michael Conley, fresh out of the state.
That's right. All right, man. Let me hear you. I got to hear yours.
So I wish I could have gone to Camden Yards, because everybody knows that's been to Camden Yards puts it at one of the top on their list. So I've never been there. That is definitely a place I want to go. I have 2 that were the same as yours. PNC Park. I tell everybody, when it comes to parks that were built, in this era of, say 90 on, any park built from there, PNC Park's the best park that I've ever been to. When you first walk in, it's Steel City, right? Pittsburgh, the Steel City, the steel architecture, the way that that it's just all over the place. It is so cool. Obviously we don't like Pittsburgh, but that stadium is awesome. Fenway is my other one. That's an easy one for me, for all the reasons we mentioned, plus the trough bathrooms. Them and Wrigley. The last time I went, they both had troughs, which I think is the funniest thing in the world when you're taking a piss and you got a nice clear stream, and then like this dark yellow water comes running right by you, and you're like, holy cow, somebody needs to get hydrated.
My least favorite part about both of those ballparks, by the way. I'm
going
to the stall, buddy. Guarantee every time.
You don't use a urinal anyway, dude.
I almost always go in a stall, even if I'm the only one in the bathroom, just in case.
No chance. I go right to the middle. Go right to the middle urinal. Like, come on, boys. Somebody's gonna stand next to me.
Especially if there's only 3 of them. There's only 3
There's 3 of
them.
them.
Then you go to the middle.
Automatically.
I want somebody next to you.
Yes, come stand next to me. Come on. We'll see if I can feel your eyes peering in. Go ahead, bud. Take a look. Do you imagine if you're sitting there taking a piss, somebody walks up next to you? Go ahead, bud. Take a look. Funny. Anyway,
I would
so
pinch it off as much as it hurts and move on.
there you go. So I put Wrigley on mine as well because I will never in my life forget coming in from behind the dugout or behind home plate at Wrigley and walking out and seeing, it was we were in the second deck, you're on the second deck and you kind of walk out kind of behind where home plate is and you just look out over all of Wrigley Field and you see the bleachers and you see, the buildings in the back and in the outfield. And that was one of the coolest sights. It's just a cool stadium. And they've got the same thing with Fenway where there's a ton of places where with obstructed view where you cannot watch the game at all because the pillars that are holding this place up are like 4 feet by 5 feet, concrete rectangles going all the way up. And then I kind of had some trouble with my last one. I haven't been to a ton. Like Jacobs Field was okay, wasn't anything special. Indianapolis basketball was all right. I've been to a few places but I was throwing up because I really think Great American Ballpark is underrated when it comes to best ballparks in Major League Baseball. And I'm going to tell you, I put them in the top 5 in Major League Baseball. But I didn't put them on here because there's a ton of stuff to do. There's not a bad seat in the house. But I put Old Tiger Stadium on here. I got to go to a game at Old Tiger Stadium. Pedro Martinez pitched for the Boston Red Sox against them. It was the last year of Old Tiger Stadium. Wow. The very last year. And when you walked up to it, it just looked like a giant white warehouse. And then you walk in and it had the old dugouts that were actually dugouts, right? Like it was a dugout and above it was like this rounded concrete cap over it. I mean, it was literally dug into the ground. Like I can't even describe it. It was so cool. That short right field porch where Cecil Fielder hit the home run onto the roof. That place, I think I was probably like, I don't know, 11 or 12 years old. Man, I was older now. I was probably 13 or 14. And that place was unbelievable. That was another thing. I feel like kind of how PNC was when my dad was just like, you know what? It's the last year for Tiger Stadium. We're going. Let's go. And then we just got in a car and drove to Tiger Stadium. I feel like that's how PNC happened with us too. Like
I think it
was like, you know what? We're just going. Let's go to Pittsburgh. All right, let's go to Pittsburgh. And we just got in a car and went to Pittsburgh.
Those are the coolest trips.
Those are the best. Hard to do now, man. You can't do stuff like that when you got all these kids running around and millions of things going on. So anyway, I would go Fenway, Wrigley, Old Tiger Stadium, and PNC, which is, I know that's nothing but old stadiums, but I love that feeling. That's why I love Butler so much. There's something cool about the way they do a lot of these new stadiums. There's so much involved in them, and there's so many cool little features, like a Great American, so many cool features you can go to during the game. Like you could go to a Reds game and never even watch an inning and have something to do the whole time and walk all around that stadium. But when you go to Wrigley, you watch a game, buddy. Like there's something about, you're just there. Like there's nothing else. It's, you want to go get a beer, go get a beer, but there's no nothing fancy. I mean, I don't know, maybe there is now because I haven't been there in 15 years probably, but I love that old feel. It feels like you're in the same place where some of the greatest things of all time have happened. So like Butler and I can't, Hinkle Fieldhouse. There you go. Like Hinkle Fieldhouse. I always come back to that because that place, I mean, it's a high school gym. Not really. It's a little bigger than a high school gym, but dude, you walk into the arena and you walk in on the floor, literally on the floor. I was standing 2 inches from the bench, from the floor of the arena, and Xavier's warming up. They're taking threes 15 feet or less away from me. And it was So cool.
Mm.
I love that old feeling. You know what I mean? You feel like you're more on top of the game.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
those are mine.
Yep. I'm a nostalgic guy. You know that. I like the old
Hmm.
places too.
No doubt.
All right, very cool. And while you were saying that, I remembered one other arena that I've been to, and that's the Q in Cleveland. I don't know that it's
Oh
called
yeah,
Quicken Loans Arena anymore, but
yeah,
um,
yep,
been there too.
yeah. I think they changed it, but the Q, yeah, that was just another. That place reminded me a lot of Indianapolis. Like
Yeah,
it's nice, you know. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's still just a big giant circle with a court in the middle of it. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. I feel like that's the thing. Like ballparks are almost a separate thing from the game. Like,
Sure.
and it's not the same. It's not the same way in basketball. They try to do, most places try to do, put some history around in the concourse area and stuff like that. But, and put up posters of guys that are on the team currently and stuff. But it doesn't compare to baseball stadiums, man. And the statues that you see there and the plaques and all the old stuff that in those places and in
Yeah.
the art, like you said, the architecture and the scenery and how it gets woven into the part of the city that it's in, like in Great American Ballpark or PNC and Camden. Anyway, all right, very good. We got to talk about Sarah Tollemache.
Let's talk about Sarah Tollemache. This is Joe List's wife, which I feel bad for. She did a great job of not saying anything
Yeah,
about Joe List, right? She did a great job with that. And she did a great job with making it sound like she just recently got out of the corporate world, which we all know that can't be true because she's been doing this for a long time. I thought she had been. At least we watched her for first time I ever saw her was in roast battle against Joe List when they were married. And I thought that was hilarious. They both were not very good at it, and I thought she wasn't good at it. But then I saw this whole comedy special, and that's her. That's her comedy, right?
yeah,
I kind of liked it. I mean, it's not something that's going to keep you interested the entire time, probably, but if you really do pay attention, she's got some really good stuff in there. And this was kind of cut up, like you said. It's YouTube, so this is all done by the people. You know, there's not a ton of professionalism in it because they're not paying. I don't know how it works, but they can cut it the way they want to cut it. And you can tell she just totally, she didn't try to make things look like they were blending together. She just cut and then
yeah,
started with whatever joke she was on next. At the end, she's like, "All right, you guys ready for this? This is how I'm going to dismount." And then it cut, and you could tell it was totally different. And then boom, there it was. There was the dismount.
tight budget there.
Tight budget. But I gotta tell you, man. I mean, it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't the best comedy special we've watched. I mean, we've watched so many of them. I put this right in the middle. I'd recommend watching her. I would go see this girl. I think she'd be funnier live. I feel like if I was live, I'd be paying more attention and I wouldn't have other because the way she talks, she's not grabbing your attention the whole time. So if you're not there, it's easy to get distracted in your own house. If you
Yeah.
have a phone or even a pen or that you can click or anything around you. I didn't write any jokes down. I wish I would have because there was some good ones, but she moved pretty quick through them. The Q-tip joke was really funny. I thought I kind of laughed at that because that's one of my favorite things in the world to do is put a Q-tip in my ear. My wife tells me my wife comes in all the time after I get done out of shower, and I'll be in there with a Q-tip, and she's like, "That whole Q-tip is almost gone. Like where? How deep do you go in your ear?" I'm like, "I don't know. Till it feels good."
Till it feels good or till it hurts a little bit. And then I
Or till it
pull it
hurts
back
a
out.
little bit, and I'll pull the thing back out. Do what you got to do. Sometimes you just put it in a little too deep. Starts hurt a little bit. Anyway, I feel like that would fit right in with that joke for her. She could have used that right there. But anyway, yeah, she had some good stuff. I liked it. I'm gonna go with a 3.0. Nothing special, but it wasn't bad, so I'm not putting it on the lower half. I would definitely watch this again.
All right. All right. I agree with a lot of what you said. It felt to me, and I think it's just her personality, but it, seemed uncomfortable, a little tense, maybe. Just
See,
not.
but that's watching her. I don't think that was. I think that's just her delivery. That's just her. You know what I mean? It's like with that dude that you like the basketball player or something. The guy who used to play basketball. I can never remember the guy's
Oh,
name.
Chris Stefano.
Yeah, and I just felt like he was rushing and rushing and rushing. And then I watched another special, and that's just him.
That is him.
Like that's just who he is, right?
Yeah.
So if you know that going in, you look at it differently. I would have looked at him differently if I would have known that going in, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that about her. I agree with you. That's just who she is. But it comes across that, like, even knowing that, it's still like she still looks uncomfortable. She still looks tense. It just doesn't, you're not used to that in a comedy show, you know? I mean, we've seen people like that before. But it's just, it doesn't lend itself well to comedy, I don't think, because it just looks like they're just scared to be there. And I would be scared to be there. But when you do it professionally for a long time, you would think you kind of get looser and looser and a little more
Yeah, but
comfortable. But
even when she's doing that and she seems uptight, then she hits that punchline, and you're like, oh, that sneaky little devil.
yeah,
She's a sneaky little one, isn't she?
yeah, yeah. I wrote down. So I wrote that down. And I wrote down that I do like some of her jokes, a lot of her jokes, but it felt also like, and I can't remember who we were talking about not that long ago, but it felt like I wrote down 75% there. It felt like she's 75% ready to do this special. She needs another 6 months or something to work these jokes out, to develop them a little bit more, to get a little bit more out of each joke.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like they were just not quite there yet. It almost felt like the whole thing was a little rushed. Like she needed to put something out there to get a little bit of momentum going or to monetize it a little bit somehow. And because, like you said, the budget thing, that's how I wrote down. It was a one camera shoot. There was not
Yep.
more, it was one camera in the back of the room. Um, she stood at the exact spot. She kind of swayed a little bit here and there. Didn't move around on the stage though. Stayed in one spot because she had to, because she only had one camera, and there wasn't a camera operator. I don't think. I think it was on a tripod sitting there, because
It
at the end of it, you saw somebody stand up right in front of it. Somebody's giant head.
happened like six
A couple of,
times.
yeah.
Like 6 times, some giant head walking in front.
So I just felt like, especially because I mean, she's married to a guy that's had some success, and I felt like she could have put a little bit more money into it, maybe gotten another camera on the side or something, so she had a little bit more freedom, and a little bit more freedom with editing too, moving around on stage and editing. And then it just felt like she just wasn't quite ready to do this, but it felt like she will be, and she can be good. It could have been really good, and it can be. And hopefully she puts out another special in a year or two or something like that. And it's good. I expect it'll be even better. So I like her. I wanted to give her a better score. I just, overall, I was like, man, it's just not, I don't think she was ready to put this out yet. So I gave it a 2.3.
I just wrote down what I thought you were going to do, and I wrote down 2.4. I was
Ooh,
just off. I was
guess.
going off your tone. I was
Good
going off
guess.
tone. I was pretty close. Pretty close.
I still
So
recommend it. Go
yeah,
watch
Sarah
it.
Tollemache. I think she's good. I think she's a funny comedian. Like I said, her jokes were good. Like I was laughing. I mean, I laughed at her jokes,
Yeah.
but there were a few times where I got lost. Like I got lost in my own world while she was talking. There's some jokes. If she told them again, I couldn't tell you if I heard them or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
I do remember the one, she was talking about, she was starting to think she wanted to have a baby, and then she spent a day having to carry an umbrella around all day.
She just
She
left it on the
realized.
doorstep of the church. She's
Yeah.
like, that's way too much responsibility.
I thought that one was pretty good.
That was good. That was good. That was good. Yeah. So
All
anyway,
right.
all right. So Sarah Tollemache. So that means next week we are going to have. This is a pretty good podcast, right? I feel like we got through this pretty quick. This is probably one of the fastest podcasts we've ever done. But also, I feel like it was still pretty good, right? We had Walking Stories with Crack a Thug, which will be back next week.
Mm-hmm.
We had our comedy segment. We had Mount Rushmore. We had Steph Curry, Lucas Sims. Next week, Adam, we each have to pick a Mount Rushmore and a comedy special. You get to do the Mount Rushmore. I got the comedy special. I'll start off because for once in my life, I was actually looking through this. This is one that came out last year. Well, it says it came out last year. I was looking for somebody I'd never heard of before.
Oh, okay.
And I ran into a guy that I had heard of before who I think this is the same guy that I think it is. I could be wrong. You're gonna have to tell me. And I don't think we did this special because now they all just run together.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure we've talked about this guy. Josh Blue. We didn't do broccoli, did we?
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did either. And I'm sure that you never chose it because you would feel uncomfortable to have to critique this dude in any way, shape, or form. But this guy makes me laugh so hard watching him talk about himself mostly. He was talking one time, made a joke about him eating spaghetti. So he's got cerebral palsy, right? And he was talking about himself eating spaghetti and something about looking like a newborn baby trying to eat spaghetti. It's just all over him. It's just funny. Oh my God. The stuff that he says cracks me up. He's a funny guy. Josh Blue, it's on Amazon Prime. Okay. Amazon Prime.
I think we've done Josh Blue before, but I think we did Sticky Change.
Yeah, it was way back in the beginning. It was one of the first like 5 or 10 that we ever did.
I think it was Sticky Change.
I think you're right. I think it was Sticky Change.
And I'm with you. I love Josh Blue. I saw him in person like 2 years ago, and 2 or 3 years ago. I was in the very front row. I was touching the stage. And that guy, I think I told the story. It was spit everywhere.
Spit everywhere.
Not very COVID friendly, but that was before COVID. Which, by the way, I got the second shot today.
Did you? Mine's tomorrow. Cheers to that.
Very nice. Very nice. How about that? Mm-hmm. All right. So, I mean, that means sometime maybe as early as May, we could be you could be drinking an Invisible Mountain Dew, and I could be coming back over to drink an Invisible Mountain Dew with you.
That's right.
In the studio.
Really in studio. In studio, we could both be fully vaxxed and ready to go. So excited. See my buddy. It's been over a year. It's been over a year. One of the last, so if you go back and you ever watch and you listen to our podcast with the Burger Bros, Burger Brothers came on. That was the very first podcast that you missed because you were sick.
Yep.
And you never came back after that. That's
right.
Never came back after that.
For a while, I thought way after the fact, I thought that I may have had COVID then. I don't think it was because I eventually got COVID and knew it and it felt different, but who knows?
Yep. Who knows?
Anyway,
you could have had one of them other crazy strands, the geometry strand or the Lebanon or Filipino or German or
DNA
England.
Strand,
all these different things. DNA. Yeah. Speaking of DNA, Josh Blue spreads DNA straight out of his mouth all over everybody in the front row, apparently. So super excited to watch Josh Blue, broccoli. Adam, do you have a Mount Rushmore?
I do, and I hope we haven't done this before. I don't think we have, but I always second guess myself. But how about board games? How about the Mount Rushmore of board games?
Yeah, okay. So question for you, because you said board games.
Mm-hmm. Any game that has made you bored before?
Okay.
That you have gotten bored playing.
So what about you got all these new games now that are kind of like apples to apples or what are those games called? Where they're like card games.
Right.
In a box. Mm-hmm. Are those counted, or are we saying it's got to have a board and you got to have pieces?
I think we count those games. Because they're in the store, they're with the board games. It's games.
Not card games. Like if you use a deck of cards for it, that doesn't count. Right. We want games, like something you would buy in the game section of Target or something like that, where they've got 5 bazillion games now, which, by the way, I think I have 4 bazillion of the 5 bazillion in my closet in the basement, that maybe half a bazillion haven't even been opened yet.
There are some fun looking games, man. I'll sit there in Target for a while and look at all those games. Some cool stuff with like Bob Ross games and all kinds of different things.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I already know I'm going old school with this. I'm going
I
some old
probably
school
will too.
stuff that we used to play back in the day. I've already got 2. We're doing board games. I got right down here. Board games. I got a couple right off the top of my head.
Same.
That we're gonna have to do. That were some of my favorite. And if I don't write them down, I'm gonna forget. So I'm doing it real quick. I can't remember the other one. I think it was just called this. Okay, so there you go. We've got Mount Rushmore board games. We've got comedy special with Josh Blue and Broccoli. Of course, walking stories with Cracker Thug will be here as long as there's nice weather out. Adam will always have a walking story to tell us. And there'll be some kind of sports thing going on by then. So the draft will be Thursday of next week. We do the podcast on either Tuesday or Wednesday, so we will miss. It'll be before the draft. Maybe we talk about some NFL draft, but don't count on it. Usually we don't talk.
Let's just talk about it now. Trevor Lawrence,
Drew Lockett. Is that his name? Drew Lockett. Justin Fields.
Sewell. Chase.
Pickett. Pritchett.
Yeah. There we go. We talked about it.
All right. Yep. We talked about it. So
Good
maybe
work.
we will get Andre Edwards, our Bengal insider, a week or 2 after the draft to kind of tell us what he thinks about the draft and what after draft and free agency, what he thinks the Bengals will look like down the road. But to be honest with you, me and Adam just aren't Bengals professionals. We are much more into the NBA and baseball and basketball side of the world. So that being said, we will find something sports related to get into next week on top of all our other fun, silly things. And until then, Adam, don't forget to turn your headlights on.